Hello Year 9 and welcome to this feedback on your recent Year 9 crime assessment. The reason that I'm doing it as a video is so you can rewind it, pause it, have a go at the activities, and as you are writing your red pen feedback in your books, you can look back at this at any point to give you some ideas on how to improve your answers. So here is the first question. Describe the main types of crime in Derby. You've got the pie chart here with all of the key information. The aim of this really was just to look at describing, saying what you can see, but also using evidence from the resource to help you in your answer. But what you don't need to do, because it's a describe question, is give reasons for it. So first of all, you can pause the video and just read through the answer that you see in front of you and see what you think to that. So have a read through. And then have a look at this second answer and see what you think to that. How does it compare? Which do you think is better? Well, if we look at these, they're both quite similar. They've both stated which is the most common type, and they've given data and evidence from it. And because it's only worth 3 marks, you don't need a massive amount of detail. Do be careful though, it's important that you aren't writing capital letters in the wrong space. So most of you did this answer correctly. But what's important, some of the main mistakes that were made were not quoting figures from the resource. And as we can see here, this kind of tends to form a list of the key ones. Just writing them down as a list and quoting the figures. So can you try and describe them, give detail, what might antisocial behaviour be? You don't need to give reasons for the crime. It's not an explain question. And some grammatical and literacy errors. Derby is the name, it's a proper noun, so it needs a capital D, and the spelling of centre, although autocorrect may have done that for you. So what could you do to make sure? Well, this answer here would still have got the 2 or 3 marks there, but to have made it better, you could have given the least common crimes as well. And you can see this bit here, the 6 categories of crimes are the only ones on the chart that display a percentage. Well, no, they all display a percentage, it's the only ones that have that there. So be aware of making wide sweeping statements there. But you could have said the least common were possession of weapons, robbery, theft from the person. And most of these tended to be crimes against property. So that is how you didn't need a lot of writing, but you could have just categorized and described in that bit of detail there. So same thing for this one, describe how crime rates and types of crime change in different areas of Derby. So again, you're asked to study this figure here. It's a describe question, so you don't need reasons. And it was just looking at the key patterns. So I want you to pause the video and then you can read through this answer here. What do you think? Okay, well, it's mentioned the key areas and it's talked about the most crimes were found in the city centre, followed by the inner city and then the suburbs. So it's talked about the main pattern. But it also gives an anomaly in that saying that theft from person or shop was actually higher in the suburbs than in the inner city. So it wasn't just quite a simple crime reduces as you move away. So they'd spotted the key pattern and an anomaly. So that was a good solid answer there. Again, you can pause the video and have a quick look at this one. And again, only half the amount of writing, but still worth the 3 marks. They've got the overall, but they've also mentioned about the most common crime altogether is antisocial behaviour. But they've also noted that while the suburbs have the least total crimes, there's more theft in the suburbs than the inner city. So again, watch the typos there. But again, A lot smaller or a lot less writing, but still got the 3 marks. So you don't have to write lots and lots. Just pick out the key points. So if we look at this question, study figure 3, which is the line graph here. Explain 2 reasons for the differences in the offender rates. Now, when you get a question like this, explain means you need to give the reasons, and you need to give 2 different reasons. Now, the first thing you need to do then is look at the graph and what does it show us? And most of you were quite good at spotting the fact that males commit more crimes than females overall. So that could be one thing that you spoke about. And secondly, that for both age groups, the highest rate of offending is between the ages of about 17 to 25, or figures similar to that. So read through the answer on the left hand side, pause the video. What do you think? Well, again, this is nice and clear. Note the use of paragraphs to show that you've got 2 different points there. Here, one reason a young male is more likely to be offender is because, so they have the connective there. So is because of stereotypes. So they've made their point. Are meant to be strong. This could lead to them. So again, we've got a connective here which shows they're going on to extend it. And again, the same thing. They've made a point and they've got this could lead to show they're explaining. And again, with another answer here, have a read through this one. And again, a very similar type of thing. They've got this may be due to. This could be why. But also they've started just to give a few bits of evidence in there as well. So this is probably slightly better, although they both got 4 marks, but this does give the evidence from there directly from the graph. So it's always a good technique to give evidence directly from any resource that you're given. So looking at this one, explain 2 different methods that can help to reduce crime. Now it's very important that you read the question and you do reflect the question in your answer. So you can't just give the methods, you've got to say, how is that going to reduce crime? Now, again, read through this answer, pause the video. What do you think to that? Can you spot the connectives, the points, and the reasons? Off you go. Okay, so this is a good answer. First of all, look at the structure. You can clearly see the 2 paragraphs showing the 2 different points. So it makes it easy for the person reading it to see the 2 points. They've also got this very simple introduction, which states the points: reducing crime or punishment and reducing opportunity. And here this is good because they've recognised the categories that they can then develop for further information and further marks, rather than just giving a strategy straight away. And again, has it got the connectives? Because they know and will more likely not want to experience it again. Because it can help possible offenders rethink what they're going to do next and whether they're going to get caught. So we can see they've got the key points in there: police, CCTV, locks, and then they've gone on to extend it. So an easy 4 marks for that one. Another answer, read through that one. What do you think? Pause now. And again, very similar, although very different wording, but similar again. Very straightforward. You need to reduce opportunity. This could be by, so they're giving examples as well as giving a strategy. These measures could be placed in public areas as a way to deter potential criminals. Now, what you might want to do to make sure that you did definitely get the marks is you could say, as the CCTV would increase the chances of them getting caught committing the crime. So you could have had an extra connective in there just to finish that sentence off. Again, if we look at this one, focusing on target hardening, property owners may decide to upgrade their house security, such as purchasing house alarms or locks to prevent theft. Okay, that's good. But then they go on, it could also focus on the technological side. So what they've done is they've actually given ideas, but they've not explained them to say how it will necessarily reduce them, although it does say it will reduce the possibility of identity theft. But again, on this one, it could do with a little bit of extension just to ensure that you're definitely going to get the full marks. Okay, so sometimes always think about in your answers, have I extended it enough without waffling on? Okay, and it's about getting that fine balance. So we move on to the final question then, which is assess the factors which can lead to different crime rates in different areas. Now this is the one that in your red pen dirt reflection I want you to have another go at. Even if you got 7 or 8 marks plus your 2 marks for SPAG, spelling, punctuation and grammar, can you make it even better? So it's going to be even more challenging for you if you've already done well in it. Now you can rewind this video or pause this video so you can see the structure that we're looking for. A quick introduction that should mention the key points you're going to talk about. 2 or 3 main paragraphs giving the main point, giving examples, using connectives, but then also making sure that you can try and give a counter view on this. Make sure as well that you do say how important it is. So this is an important factor influencing different crime rates. And then at the end of each paragraph, give a summary sentence which directly answers the question using therefore, and then a brief conclusion to answer the question, stating the most important point based on what you've talked about. So what are the things that you can talk about? What are some of the factors that can affect the crime rate? Well, you can see I've put some ideas up on the screen here. It might be the wealth of an area. So you could say an important factor influencing the type of crime might be the wealth of an area. As richer people may have things of more value like bigger cars or nicer houses with more TVs in. So this could encourage more types of burglary and car theft. So you're linking the area, the factor and the type of crime that can lead to. So you could look at the richer areas, the type of poorer areas, but also think about, well, what might reduce the importance of that factor? So yes, the richer may have things of more value, but they're more likely to have more crime prevention to reduce the risk of crime affecting them. Maybe poorer areas, people may turn to crime to make money if they're struggling in poverty. Or sometimes poverty can lead to violence and vandalism in rundown areas. But that doesn't mean you don't still have those issues in richer areas as well. It might be population density, more people, more offenders, but also more easier to get caught. It might be to do with the population structure. If you've got lots of young people, we know that young people are more likely to be involved in crime. And you can also link that to the vandalism and antisocial behaviour, which are the most common types of crime. So what you're trying to do is link together lots and lots of different elements of your learning and put them together within this essay. And you can see there's also a couple of other points. Now you don't need to include all of these, but I would suggest that you'd need to include at least 3 of these. So now let's have a look at and pick apart a couple of different answers. What I'd like you to do is read through first of all and pause the video. So what can we see? Well, what we have here then, we have an introduction and we've just mentioned wealth, enforcement and layout. So we know what they're going to talk about. So that's very good. Now it starts off with, firstly, there is a factor of wealth. So they've made the point. But what could improve that? Well, a simple use of the word, firstly, an important factor in the type of crime is wealth. And so you're linking it directly to the question. But by saying it's important, you're starting to assess it. You're starting to pick out the most important factors. And just those little key terms can really improve your answer. Now it goes on. It depends on how much homes and buildings cost. And wealthy area might have larger, more expensive buildings than, say, a poorer one. Now, be careful here because it is a valid point. But are people going to be stealing the buildings? or are they going to be stealing the things that are inside of them? Now again, they've gone on and they've given a different point of saying what happens if you're in a poorer area and why they might do that type of crime. And they've said, whereas you are more likely to be a victim of burglary if you live in richer areas. So they've linked it quite effectively to the type of crime you're likely to experience. But have they given a counterpoint? Have they talked about that you can do things to prevent that type of crime by having better locks and better security? And have they linked it back to the question at the end of the paragraph? But again, that's something else that is good about it, because it does have this paragraph format. And the same comments could apply to this second paragraph. This idea of next there is the factor. Well, where's the assessment? Another key factor is. And again, they've gone on to describe it and explain it and say how it could help to reduce it. So it does show a good understanding of some of the factors that are influenced around it. So therefore, this is likely to get a level 2 mark, because there's not much assessment in there, and what we call explicit assessment, where you directly say this is an important factor, but also there's not too much implicit. An implicit judgment and assessment is where you say however. By putting that however or but in your answer, you're showing the factors that might limit the importance. So again, you're kind of ranking the order of them, but by doing it implicitly, you're giving another factor that's relevant as well. But overall, a really, really good answer. So well done. And another answer for you to have a look at. Pause the video, read through it. Okay, so if we have a look through, again, look at the introduction. Now here they've said, they've reworded the question, but wouldn't that be better if they'd have put what they were going to talk about to have an introduction? So we can see we've got wealth and population. They could have just written that in the introduction to set the scene a little bit better. So one factor that can affect this is wealth. Well, you know what I'm going to say about that. Where's your assessment language in there? Simple words. One of the most important factors is wealth. You can see that they have got a description of it. They've started to explain it. It's more likely to have better protection, but it can be a motive. Yeah, so they've got this however in. Yes, being wealthier is likely to have better security, but because the pickings are going to be much more valuable, then it might increase the rate of the crime there. And again, what they've done, the wealth of the area is an important factor, because most people's motive for committing a crime is to become wealthier. So here, this is an excellent example of linking it back to the question and summarising that paragraph. And what about the next one? Well, less populated is less likely to be because there's not many people recognising that it's people that carry out the crime. On the other hand, giving a counterpoint there to say that yes, it is important, but you've also got to consider this factor as well. So therefore, this is a good, really strong answer. And because it has these counterpoints in, and it has got this little bit at the end of each paragraph, then this would push this into a level 3, 7 or 8 marker. But what is it that would guarantee it would be an 8 marker? Well, you'd need a clear and concise conclusion. Now, if we read this one, pause the video quickly, read through it. Now here, they've linked back to the key points in their question, which is good. But they've been a bit city on the fence here. They've not really stated an opinion. So they've just said, well, they're all important factors. But it is important in a conclusion to come down and say, one of the most important factors is this, although this, and this can also be relevant. So we do want to see you stating your opinion. And as long as that opinion is backed up with the writing in your question, then you can't get it wrong because it's your opinion at the end of the day. So some of the key things to remember and things for you to focus on as you write or rewrite your assess answer in your red pen is think about using the assessment language at the start of each paragraph. Use the connectives to clearly show your explanations and counterpoints. However, on the other hand, make sure you stay focused on the question, using terms like therefore at the end of it to help you answer the question relating to your key points. Use paragraphs. There were so many of you just wrote a longer list of things. Use paragraphs to show you've got these clear different points there, and then make a judgment in your conclusion. So I hope you found this useful. You're able to look back over your own work and see what you've got to do to improve, and then you can have a go at writing that in your book. So thanks for listening, Year 9. See you later. Good luck. Bye.